Hi, I'm Ed from the Teeny Tiny Spice Company, and I'd like to welcome you to our second episode of Cooking with Teeny Tiny Spices. We're continuing with our theme of cooking with what we got at the farmer's market today. Thor and I just completed our first ever video about 15 minutes ago, and we were planning on going outside to do some work, but a storm has whipped up, and so we're going to go ahead with a second episode. So our dish right now is going to be a goat stew with just 5 ingredients. Very simple. We got some goat from the farmer's market, goat stew meat. We have some nice spring onions, some radishes and the leaves that were with the radishes, half a jar of tomato puree, and then we're going to be using our Ethiopian bearberry spice today, although virtually any of our spices would work great in this recipe. So we have a pot heated already in the stove, and I'm going to add the goat stew meat, and we're just going to end up stirring it a little bit and letting some of the fat render off. The meat has been cooking now for about 5 or 6 minutes, and in that time the storm I was telling you about stopped, but Thora and I noticed that we had left the windows open in our new house that we're still learning how to use, and half the living room was flooded. So we've taken care of cleaning that up. It makes it quite clear that you don't actually have to tend this dish very much. So now that the meat is starting to cook a bit, we're just going to add the onions. I did quite a lot, and I included the greens of the spring onions. I'm going to throw in the radishes and the radish greens. I'll put in, probably it's about 2 tablespoons of the bearberry spice, and then a cup of crushed tomato. And for liquid, you could use tomato, you could use coconut milk, you could use broth, you could use water, you could use wine, really anything. The idea with this is that we want to allow the meat to cook slowly in a moist environment so that the connective tissue breaks down. And that does 2 things. One, it takes the stew meat and makes it very, very tender, but it also pulls out from the connective tissue a lot of nutritious elements, basically the gelatins and so forth, that are very good for your digestion and for the health of your intestinal tract. So with chicken, we might cook this now for half an hour or so. With beef or lamb, the goat, pork, those we tend to cook more for an hour to an hour and a half. And sometimes we just put this on the stove on very low and let it go all day. It's not a precious dish. It's really pretty much foolproof. So now that I've got that mixed in, the spices mixed in, the veggies are mixed in with the meat, we're just going to cover it, and this is not a tight-fitting lid, so I'm going to come back every once in a while just to make sure that there's still liquid in there. But this should help a lot of the liquid stay. And then I'm just going to move this over onto our burner that has a little heat diffuser on it, which is the equivalent of a very low setting on the stove. You could also take a covered pan and put it in an oven at about 250 degrees or so, and just let it cook slowly there for several hours. And you could do the same thing in a crock pot. So a lot of different ways to make the dish. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. If you want your vegetables to be a little bit more intact or retain their shape and maybe a little bit more of their texture, you could add those in later on. So for, let's say, potatoes or the radishes, you might add them in a half an hour before you think that the dish is going to be done. Right now, I just want to get this dish on to cook so that we can go on to doing other things, and this will be ready for us to have as dinner tonight or as a meal tomorrow, and will just be delicious. So we'll let it go now for a couple of hours, and we'll see you back then. Hi, we're back. As you can see, it's a different day since I've got a different shirt on. We did get really busy last night and never got around to eating the stew or finishing it, so it really did cook for I don't even know how long, 6 hours or so. I've just reheated some from the fridge and have it going here. I made a little bit of rice for myself, and I'm going to have a quick lunch before doing our Sunday afternoon chores like going to the dump. So just a little bit of rice. You can see the goat cooked down. It's very delicate, breaking apart. The onions are still there. You could dress this up a little bit if you wanted to with some fresh peas or some peppers, some red peppers or something like that. That would be delicious. I'm just going to add a little bit of avocado to it, which I find is really nice. Thora and I love the combination of the avocado with the Ethiopian bearberry spice blend. It just mellows out the heat of the bearberry a little bit and is quite satisfying. So there you are, goat curry or goat stew, and we hope that you try experimenting, try something new like trying goat or lamb if you don't eat it, and enjoy your meals and your weekend. Thanks a lot.
Go ahead, take a bite.
Yum. Of course I drop it on myself first thing, but man, that is good.